Hi, this is Kevin Trainer, and welcome to my tutorial on installing PyCharm on Windows 10. And this tutorial video is for the use of students in my Python related courses. And it may have some interest for regular old YouTubers who found their way here, but the primary audience is my students. So if you're just a YouTuber who found your way here, forewarned is forearmed. This is the second in a series of two tutorial videos. The first one is on installing Anaconda. So if you've gotten here and you haven't played and followed that, please stop now. Go and find the Anaconda, the install Anaconda tutorial. Do that and then come back here. Okay, because this is step 2 of a two-part process. We're going to be installing PyCharm Professional. PyCharm Professional is the fancy paid version of the IDE called PyCharm. IDE stands for Integrated Development Environment. And we're going to use that version because, one, I use it in all of my Python related courses, and two, it's free to us because we're university people. So how do we go about getting this free version? Well, the first step here, we're looking at a part of the weekly schedule for a course that I'm going to begin teaching next week. And under the task install PyCharm Professional is a link for getting a free individual license if you're a student or a faculty member. So we're going to follow that. And it's going to take us to a page on the JetBrains website. JetBrains is the maker of PyCharm. And it's for free educational licenses. And if you go down towards the bottom of the page, there's a button for apply now. Gee, that's not what I wanted to do. So let's, I was just trying to close that window. So here's the apply now button. So we'll click on that. And it takes us to a form that you fill out. What you need is a university email address. You give it the details. You're going to be a student, so you fill that out. You need to use your university email address, and you go through the rest of this, and you apply for free products. Okay. And the result is that you get a free license for a whole range of JetBrains products for approximately a year. Okay, so that's what you're going to want to do. I've already done mine. So where do you go next once you've done that? Well, you go to the JetBrains website. So let's just go to jetbrains.com. Okay. And what we want to do is we want to log into our account. Now, I forget whether you create an account as part of that whole applications for the license process. I think you do. But in any case, the way you get to your account is that there's a little person icon here, and you click on that. And it takes you to the login page for your JetBrains account. So if you get here and you don't have one yet, then create one. Okay, I'm going to uh, I'm going to log in with my account that I have for the University of Illinois. And I'm going to get my password from my password manager and paste that in. And that should get me signed in. There we go. So as you can see, let me see if I can get this thing to behave a little bit. Yeah. So again, I'm using a virtual machine here, so it's a little bulky sometimes. So as you can see, I've got actually two licenses. I have a really old one for RubyMine from long ago. And then I've got this one, JetBrains product pack for students, and I still think that's the one that you get. And as you can see, I have a license ID. And I think I've had this for a long time, and I renew it every year. And right now, it's valid through January 28th, 2021. So there's a whole list of things that we can install here, including PyCharm. And I think you could click on PyCharm and get to install it that way. But so instead, what I prefer to do is up here, there's a download link. So I click on that, and from the pop-up, I pick PyCharm. And as you'll see right now, the version is 2020-1, and then you go to the download link. Now, what I want to point out is that this tutorial video is going to have a life of at least a year. So if you're coming here and there's a newer version, unless in the course I've warned you off of some new version, just take the new version that it has. Okay, these things get updated as time goes by. Typically for PyCharm, there are 2 or 3 releases per year, and they're named the year dot 1, 2, 3. Okay, so we're going to download this. We'll click on the download, and it knows we're Windows, and we still have a download button, so we'll click it. And down the bottom, I'm going to pick the option for saving it. That's the installer. And it's going to run a security scan on it. And I'm going to open the folder. It's going to be the downloads folder. And I've got all the Anaconda downloads. Let's we'll leave them there for now. So here's PyCharm Professional 2020.1.1. No fancy way to install this. Just double click on the installer. So here we go. Double click. And it's going to take a while to start up. Do I want to access the hard drive? Yes, I do. So, welcome to setup. We'll click on next. And it says that it wants to install it in C, program files, JetBrains, PyCharm 2020.1.1. That's fine. So I'm going to click on next. Do I want to create a shortcut on the desktop? Normally I don't do that because I tend to put my shortcuts down in the taskbar, and it doesn't actually do that. So I'm not going to check any of the things here. By default they're unchecked, so we're going to just click on next. and it wants to put it in a group called JetBrains. That's fine. Click on install. And now it's going to start the install. So you don't have to watch all the extracting and the installing. I'm going to pause this and I'll be back when that's done. Okay, so we're back. And that took a while. That took, on my machine, that took 4 or 5 minutes. A while. Okay, so we're getting to the end of the setup. Do I want to run it once the setup's over? I don't, because I want to practice finding it. Okay, so now I'm going to click on finish. And I don't think it heard me, so I'm going to click on finish again. There we go. So we're done with all that. So let's close the File Explorer. I think we can close the browser for now. We've got all that. Okay, so how do we find our way to PyCharm? Well, let's go down here to the Start menu in the lower left. Okay. I think PyCharm is under P. Depends on the way you install it. No, let's look. It's under JetBrains, J. And we open up that group and we've got PyCharm. Now, as I mentioned in the last of the tutorials that I did, the one for Anaconda, I generally like to put a shortcut down on the taskbar. So instead of just left clicking on this, I'm going to right click. I'm going to go to More and then Pin to Taskbar. And you can see the icon here for PyCharm as popped up on the taskbar. And so now when I want to start it up, I'm just going to click on the icon. And PyCharm is not a fast startup. PyCharm is a Java application, and Java is fast at a lot of things, but not loading. So we're going to agree to the agreement. Okay, that's good. Continue. Send anonymous statistics. Okay, that's fine. And there's the splash screen for PyCharm. Now, when we go to configure, a lot of my students like this dark theme. In fact, I think more like that than not. But I've been using the light theme now for 10 years. And so I choose the light theme. Pick whatever theme you like. The next thing is about featured plugins. We're not going to be using any plugins, so we're not going to go there. We're just going to say skip remaining and set defaults. So we're going to do that. And so now it wants a license. Okay. And the way that we tell it about the license is, well, we have the option. We can either activate the license or evaluate for free. Evaluate for free sounds like fun, but in 30 days it locks up. So you don't want that. So you want to activate PyCharm. That's the radio button that's already chosen. JB account means JetBrains account. That was the thing that we just took a look at when we downloaded the software. And so typically I give it my email, trainer1 at Illinois is mine. You'll have yours. And then the password, again, I'm going to get that from my password manager. It's the one that we use to log into the JetBrains website before. and I'm going to click on activate. And it does a little thinking, and then we're done. Then we've registered our license. Okay, there it is. So now it's really starting up PyCharm. This green screen is the splash screen, and here's where we select. We create a new project. So that's what we want. We want create new project. So let's click that, and it's a Python project. So the already selected for us is pure Python. Um, One important thing is this location. Okay. Um, Typically, when you do a new install, it'll say it'll create a directory under your home directory called PyCharm projects. That's good enough for me for right now. You can keep yours wherever you want. Okay. One important thing to know is that this isn't just the path to the directory where your projects are kept. This includes the file. This includes the name of the project that you are creating. Okay. So if you just leave it with the word untitled, then you're going to get a project called untitled, which is probably what you don't want. I'm going to call mine my first Python project, and the typical naming convention for things in Python is all lowercase words separated by underscores. So I say my underscore first underscore Python underscore project. And that's that. So that's the proper name for the project. So now it needs a Python interpreter, which it's going to get from a virtual environment. And so we've got to point it to the virtual environment that we already created using Anaconda. And again, that was in the previous tutorial, and we called it E4 Trainer Python course. Now, it's going to ask us to point to where that is. And you may have forgotten, and we often do forget. So let's remind ourselves about how to find your way to virtual environments from Anaconda. Down here on the taskbar, I've got the shortcut for the Anaconda prompt. That's the command line window for Anaconda 3 as an alternative to go and looking it up on the menu. I'm just going to click here, and it opens this up. And I'm going to type in the command line command for getting information about the installation of Anaconda. That's conda space info, enter. And so we can see where everything's installed. And you can see that there are 3 possible directories where a virtual environment might reside. So that doesn't help us so much. So how do we find a particular virtual environment? Well, there's a sub option of the conda info command. We're going to use that. So we're going to type in conda space info space dash dash envs, ENVS, enter. And here we go. So we've got the base environment, which we typically do not use, and then we've got the env that we created for called E4 Trainer Python course. That's the one that we do want to connect with. So as you can see, that's under uh, my home directory, and it's under .conda envs, and it's in there. So that's where we're going to find it. I'm just going to put that off to the side in case we forget again. Okay. And let's go back to our dialog. So what we need to do is that we need to point it to an interpreter in an existing virtual environment. So we don't want to take the radio button for new environment because that'll create a virtual environment. That's not what we want. We want down here the radio button for existing interpreter, and we see here it says no interpreter, so we don't have anything available to choose, and that's because we haven't found any virtual environments yet. So to search for them, we go over to this button, click on that. We come to another dialog, and here's how we're going to pick this. First of all, in the left panel, the navigation panel, we want to tell it that this is a Conda environment. So pick the second option, Conda environment. Okay. And then over here, there's a checkbox that comes up on the right side, make available to all projects. If you click this, when you go to create other projects, it's going to make this virtual environment available to you much easier than this having to search around. So you definitely want to be clicking this checkbox for make available to all projects. The Conda executable, that's fine. It was able to find that. Interestingly, it was able to find my virtual environment. So it went to the directory that we're looking for. It found E4Trainer Python course, that's a directory, and in it it found the Python interpreter here called python.exe. But let's say that did not come up. How could we go find it? Well, click on the ... So click on the ... Okay. And we can either look in the C directory or the Z. We want the C. Okay. And we want to find my home directory. So we're going to expand users and then my name, Kevin Trainer. You, of course, would be looking for your name. This .conda directory that we're looking for is right up top. So we're going to expand that. And we're going to look for the envs sub directory. That looks good. And then we have a directory for E4Trainer Python course. Of course, that is what we want. And you have to remember that we're not choosing the virtual environment directory. We need to go further. So we need to expand that virtual environment directory, and we want to search down and we want to find python.exe right here. That's what we want. Okay. Now you may see some other options. Something looks like Python 3 or Python 3.7 or whatever. That's not what you want. You want the most general reference here, and this is python.exe. So you're on python.exe, you click OK, and then you come back and this interpreter is fully populated. Ours was anyway, but I needed to let you know how to search for them. Once if you're taking a couple of courses with me, or you've had a couple of projects that you needed to configure special virtual environments for, you'll eventually get a list of all the ones available in the drop down here. Here we've only got this, but here's where you can pick the one that you want easily. So we're pointed at the right interpreter in the right virtual environment. We've checked the make available to all projects box, and now we're going to click on OK. All right. And as you can see, we are pointed to E4 Trainer Python course, and it's a proper Python interpreter. That's good. And now we can just go down to the bottom and click on Create. And there we are. So overall on the navigation panel, these are tips. Now you may want to leave yours on, but I'm going to say I don't want to see mine because actually in all the years I've been using this tool, I've seen a lot of the tips. So you can leave yours on. I think that's fine. What am I going to do here? So over on the in the left navigation panel, here's our project, my first Python project. You can see that that's a directory, but we don't have anything underneath it because we haven't created any program files. So how do we create our first program? Right click on the name of the project. Pick new, and these are a bunch of files. Right under the first divider is Python file. That's what we want. And what do we kind of call our first program? Well, I'm going to call mine Goodbye Cruel World, and I recommend that you do the same. That sounds kind of funny, but there's a tradition in teaching new programming languages. It's been around since the C language, and the authors of the developers of the C language wrote a very influential programming textbook for the C language. And the first thing that they did is that they taught the new programmer how to print out on the console a simple message that said "Hello World." Well, I'm getting kind of sick of that now, even though it's a tradition to do that. And so instead of that, I get a little cynical and I say, "Goodbye, a cruel world." So we're going to say goodbye, cruel world. Again, we're going to form a typical Python name, all lowercase, words separated by underscores. So that's goodbye underscore cruel underscore world. And even though this is eventually going to become a .py file, we don't put that there. That's automatically added for us. So we're just going to hit enter. And we're going to get our first program. You see it appear over here on the navigation bar, and it gets opened in the editor. Okay, and here's some stuff about Windows Defender. We're not going to worry about that right now. Okay, so typically in my class, we begin every program with two special lines of text or comments that help you identify the program that you're in. The first one is the name of the program file. So we just write goodbye cruel world.py. Okay, and we don't want that to be code. We want that to be treated as a comment. So how do we do that? Well, there are two ways to do that. The hard way is to go to the beginning of the line and type in a pound sign, an uppercase 3, and then a space. And you'll see it turns gray, and that's to tell you that it's not being treated as Python code. Okay, now what if you wanted to do that a little more easily? Well, there's so I'm going to delete that. There's a really easy way to toggle a line of code into and out of being a comment. And so you click on the line, and then you in the Windows version you type control slash. So that toggles it into a comment. If you do control slash again, it goes out of a comment. We want it to be a comment. That's it. And it will work for however much code you happen to highlight. So you can turn a whole block of code into a comment, or you can toggle it back out of a comment as well. Okay, so the next line is typically a one sentence description of the intention of the program. So I'm going to call it a demonstration program that prints a single message, a single line message on the console. Okay, and I'll explain what the console is in just a minute. And again, I want this to be a comment, so I'm gonna do control slash, and it's toggled into a comment. Okay, what comes next? Two blank lines. We'll learn about why in the first chapter of Python. Okay. Now we're going to use our standard layout for Python program that we're going to be using in one of my Python courses. And this is a good practice. It's really followed by the majority of Python programmers. So first we're going to define a function called main. So we're going to say def, that defines the function, space main, and then type a left paren, and it automatically puts in the right one to match it. And when you define a function, you have to end that line with a colon. It's called a function header that you have there. And then when we return, we press return, we come down, and you'll see that we're indented. So the code that's part of the function is indented 4 spaces underneath the function header that says, that indenting says, this code is part of this function. And so we're just going to type print, and then left paren, puts in the right, and then we're going to use some kind of a quote mark. It's typical these days for Python programmers to use the single quotes, the apostrophe. So I'm going to put in a single quote, and it's going to give me the close one. And it leaves the cursor right between. So it's very nice for typing. I'm going to type in goodbye, comma, cruel world, exclamation. Okay, that's that. Now, are we done? No, we're not. Why is that? Well, because we created a function that had one command inside of it, and it said to print a particular message. But when we create a function, we're essentially saying, remember this code. Okay, we're not saying to run it. So we need a later line of code. So we're going to skip 2 more blank lines. And again, we'll find out why later in the course. 2 blank lines. And then all the way on the left side, not indented, we're going to type the word main and then parens. Okay, and then we're going to get to the end of that and just put 1 carriage return to end the line. And again, we'll find out why later. This is about the simplest Python program that we could do that conforms to the coding style that we're going to be using in our course. And how could we run this? Well, we're in the editor panel now. We're going to right click anywhere in the editor panel. We're going to go just about midway down, run goodbye cruel world. We're going to click on that, and it pops up the Python console. and it runs the program, and you can see the output here. Goodbye, cruel world. Now, what do we mean by console? Well, if you're not working in a fancy integrated development environment like this, then you're working at the command line, okay? The command line being something like this. And if you run a Python program uh, at the command line console, uh, the output just comes right. You type the input that says to run the program, and the output comes out on the next line. So this thing that we're looking at here is a simulation of what would happen out at the command line console. Okay, it's been routed to a very pretty little window here in PyCharm. Okay, so what if we wanted to run it again? Well, we could right click and find run Goodbye Crew World again, and we run it and it runs okay. Okay, or more typically, once you run it the first time, you're going to be adding some code or changing some code. Let's say we wanted to do that twice. So we could copy that. Copy that and come down and paste it again. And now we got 2. And the way that PyCharm works, you don't have to explicitly save a file. You just have to click off of the line that you changed, and it automatically saves. And once you run something the first time, even if you've changed code, you can go down to the left of the console and there's a play button. So you can play that. So now we get 2 lines, and now we can go back and get rid of the second line, which we didn't originally intend to have. So we got rid of that. Okay, and we're going to click off of that line. And now we come down here and we click the play button for the console again, and now it only prints 1 time. So more typically when you're programming, you are adding and subtracting code, and then you can just go right down and use the play button that's part of the console. So we're able to prove that we were able to install PyCharm. We were able to create our first project. We were able to connect that with the right virtual environment that we created with Anaconda, and we ran a simple program. Now, what do we do when we're done? Well, over here on the upper right, we're going to click the X, and it's going to say, do I want to be asked, did I really mean it? I'm going to say no. Don't ask me that. And it's going to close it. Now, how does it behave the next time you open it? Well, let's go down to the taskbar and click on it. And again, it doesn't load super fast, but it does. And one of the things I wanted to show was in the Windows version of PyCharm, when you start it up, it goes back to the last project that you had open. Okay, so if you don't want that project, what could you do? Well, you go up to the menu, and for instance, you could say File, New Project, and then you get to create it. Okay, if you want to use that project, that's fine. All right, so that's where you are. That's enough to get you started. Look forward to seeing you in class, and I'm going to say bye until next time. Bye-bye.